This is Trader Hub speaking, and we are back with our weekly analysis. But this time around, it's going to be somewhat different on how we have been doing it. And this time around, we are going to be doing it every video per currency pair. Understand? Every video, currency pair. And on every currency pair, since it's a weekly forecast, I'm going to be breaking down all the technicals and the fundamental parts on every day on each pair, specifically all per video. And my suggestion is, I think, let's start with gold. You can see this is gold, and let me first switch to weekly time frame, because if we are to proceed, we have to first look at our bias on the weekly time frame before we proceed or we forecast on what's coming or what might happen next week. As you can see, our bias is really bullish. Our bias is really bullish, but I just want to first look at our fundamentals before we proceed. So we're looking at next week, and the next week on Monday. What are we having Monday on the USD? Because remember, I'm first starting with XAUSD, which means I'm first looking at the economic events, all the news events on the dollar index, all on the DXY before we proceed. What are we having on Tuesday? Actually, let me just read all the texts and my highlighted economic events which are stressing our days ahead. And we are starting with Monday. On Monday, if you are to be trading gold, if you are going to be trading gold on Monday, we are looking at the weekend tariffs from Mr. Trump's speeches and the tariffs which he has been promising to impose on several countries. And this might trigger a safe haven on Monday. I mean gold. This might make gold to hike or to go higher because of these tariffs, because most investors will be looking at gold as a safe haven. Okay, most investors will be looking at gold as a safe haven in case escalations occur or happen due to these tariffs. Just know gold will be used as a safe haven on Monday, and which might expect price levels to push up to something like 3,340. Okay, 3,340 levels. These levels is where we might expect our prices to go by Monday. If the tariff war escalates on Monday, what are we having on Tuesday? This is 15th. It will be 15th. So we are expecting the US CPI. Okay. On Tuesday, let's look at Tuesday. We got CPI year over year, and you can see that this was our previous. Okay. This was our previous. If you're to see, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the US CPI. Yeah, this was our previous. The previous says 2.4. But what is the forecast? They haven't yet raised the forecast. But if you to go to the expected all other external websites, you can see that the expected CPI forecast will be at 2.8. We might get an increase of 4 points from 2.4 to 2.8. Okay? 2.8. Remember, this is year over year. Okay? Year over year. But again, if you look at the CPI of month over month, the previous one was less or was slightly low compared to the forecast, which means according to these other external websites which have been using or utilizing as my analysis sources, it means if we are to get a 4 points addition on this one to get, remember, to get 2.8, this signifies that the US economy might strengthen on Tuesday. Okay, if we are trading gold, this strengthens Actually, this confirms a strong US dollar. Okay. And if this expectation is true, as expected, when it's high, just know it will push our gold prices to lower levels. Because remember, on the DXY, if it's stronger, it pushes the currency. Okay? It pushes the gold currency, and we might see a dip. We might see a dip or a market cap, or actually DXY cap in gold up to 3,300 levels, below 3,300 levels. Okay? We might expect a reversal to these levels within these areas. Okay? If CPI is higher, but if it's weak, let's just high up to these levels, price level 3,500 and above. If Tuesday CPI is bearish on the DXY. So what are we having on Wednesday 16th? We're looking at Wednesday 16th. Wait, my calendar. I'm looking at Wednesday 16th. What are we having on Wednesday? ABP CPI. I'm first looking specifically at the USD index because remember, we are trading gold. I'm looking at gold first before we proceed. So Fed minutes may hit at rate what? Rate cuts. What are we having? So forms, we got forms on a Wednesday. And if it's forms, of course, we are having Federal Reserve. So on Wednesday, I'm expecting a dovish tone. What do I mean by dovish tone? Most people might be confused if I use that word. Actually, a dovish tone means a bullish momentum. Actually, let me just say so. A bullish move. So if, let's say, if 25 basis points are cut, this will increase the risks or odds of markets to rise, all the DXY climbing. Understand? And this could drive our dollar, all our pair up higher to these levels, to our expectations. Because remember, we might just get a simple hint. Rumors. The moment we get those rumors, just expect on Wednesday, gold will drive higher. Understand? Because those signals only they determine the sentiments. They determine the market sentiments. Understand? And if signals are hawkish or are bearish, I mean if they are negative, this will signify a drop in gold. Okay? This signifies a drop on gold. Actually, I don't want to make my videos to be long. So what are we having on Thursday? On Thursday, I don't see any major economic event on Thursday, but let's first look at it. On Thursday, what are we having? On Thursday, I'm looking at initial job risk claims. Okay, on Thursday still, retail sales, initial job risk claims. The previous one was actually, they're not all too bad for the US economy on Thursday. On Thursday, what are we having on Friday? On Friday, I'm looking at the dollar. Nothing much. However much, there are two bull news as always, and as usual, as I say, don't lose guard. So actually, I've given you my fundamental analysis. So this is our technical analysis. If you to see, our market is really bullish. Our market is really bullish. Remember, this is a weekly time frame. Okay, members, this is a weekly time frame, and if you to see, the bias is really bullish. what am I expecting or what am I eyeing for my price levels. Let me first switch to a daily time frame. I first see my targets if they might align with what I'm expecting. Actually, if I'm to enter for buys, actually this level, I retrace it. Why? Because this level, it's in a strong area. And again, if we are to go bearish, let's consider also this level because that's a very, very, very strong level. Now I'm switching direct to 15 minutes time frame. Why someone might be asking, I'm looking for real spots, all those entry logics, all entry criteria, entry spots, which are really important. And if you're to be looking at this market, I would highly recommend you to execute or to wait for buys on Monday at this level. The moment our market retraces to that price level, okay? The moment our market retraces to that price level, I would highly recommend you to consider that level. What next? And if our market just increases or it keeps on gaining, it just keeps on gaining. Remember, we had something like a frog. However much this was a simple bearish trend, but again, it aligned with what? Our general trend. So I can testify that this was just a frag. Okay, this was just a bullish frag, a bullish frag. And why or where should you consider for more entries in case? And remember, if we are below this level and the market breaks below this level and retest on this level, just know we are switching or we are clinging up to these levels. We are clinging up to these levels. And if you're done, then remember, this is a hourly time frame, a hourly time frame. Now, let me go back to a 15 minutes time frame. You can see why I marked this level. This is a very strong level because it pulled out liquidity from these levels. Remember, the market moves as it's looking for liquidity and market manipulation. Actually, that's another topic again to explain. But I think that's my gold analysis and that's my gold forecast. So if we are to go on a 4-hour chart, you can say that we might experience a reversal to this level, then we shoot higher. And the moment we break above this level, expect a reversal still at this level. But why am I high at this level for buys? Remember, I'm looking at the general trend and the old data. I'm looking at the past data. So if it's so, let's end here with this video. I wish you a new and a peaceful week. I sign out.